Welcome to Combos from the Couch by Lifestance Health, where leading mental health professionals help guide you on your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Combos from the Couch by Lifestance Health. I'm Nicolette Lianza, and on today's episode, I'll be talking with Kevin Foley, a clinician from one of our Lifestance Oklahoma offices, and we'll be talking about the very important topic of cyberbullying, sextortion, and social media. So welcome back, Kevin. Great to have you on.
It's great to be here, Nikki. Thank you.
Well, recently, the Surgeon General issued a new advisory about the effects of social media use has on youth mental health. And also, the FEI reports a huge increase in the number of kids and teens being coerced to send explicit images online, which is a crime called sextortion. So, Kevin, I look forward to our conversation today as you help us understand more about what cyberbullying is and sextortion and what can be done to help prevent these issues. So I know you've been on before, but let's have you tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you. I've got 25 years as a middle school, high school teacher and administrator. This is my fifth year with an LPC. Very much enjoy the relational aspects of both. My clientele, my favorite age group is the teen, middle school into the high school age group.
Tough age, though. That's a tough. That's your favorite. That's a tough age, though.
I think I'm stuck there, so I think we relate really well. So I really connect with what they're going through and hope to help them navigate that. So, yeah.
Okay. So as we begin, let's start with cyberbullying. What is cyberbullying and what are some different types of it?
Well, I think it's a really unique thing that they have to deal with, that kids today deal with. Certainly, we're all aware of how much technology brings to them. It's got some great uses. It's a fantastic tool. I know back when I was in school and we would have our differences and meet out by the flagpole after school, maybe have the argument or the occasional fight, and then it would be over. Disagreements, and it's permanent, right? It's all been recorded and passed around, and then it just never goes away. And I think that really has a effect on their psyche, because whatever happens, whatever's said, can come back at any time, and they know that. So when they come back and just feel the following week, they're constantly on the lookout. It really contributes to hypervigilance.
Right.
Whatever I've done is always there. And that really is difficult to manage.
A form of trauma, it never goes away. It keeps haunting you.
And so therefore, I think for many of them, even before action, it affects them. They're constantly worried about, what if I do this and somebody gets a hold of that? What if I do this and somebody sees it or films it, and then I'll have to respond or be responsible for that in some way. So it's just really challenging for so many of them.
Right. Now, I think most people are familiar with the term cyberbullying, but they might not be so familiar with sextortion. Can you tell us a little bit about what sextortion is?
Sure. So it, like many things, comes in many different forms. I think the first instance of it would come out in terms of sexting. It would be texting. Oftentimes it'd be somebody that you're in a relationship with. They would ask you to write or send things of a maybe even romantic nature, but then increasingly compromising nature. Maybe it's in the photo, or the challenge being, once that's sent, it's now out of your control and could go anywhere. And you have no idea who's on the other end. Even if you're sending it to somebody that you trust, they might be with somebody that you don't trust, and anybody could be seeing that or handling that and then capturing that. So I know we have some platforms now that say that things disappear very quickly, but they can be captured before it disappears. And then if you, unfortunately, the relationship doesn't last and you break up, that material is still out there permanently. And so a lot of impulsive, which is, the middle name for all of our adolescents, decisions are permanent now. And you can't just walk past it and get over it. That's been frozen in time and preserved. So I think, sometimes we feel, the children that I work with feel compelled to do something in a moment that then gets frozen and maintained. And I think that power differential, which we always talk about when we're talking about bullying or peer pressure or coercion, which is the extortion part of the sextortion, makes it a very cute name, but not a very fun experience.
Right.
That's really what we're dealing with, is that imbalance of power.
Yeah. That's the key, the imbalance of power.
Yeah.
So, how are cyberbullying and sextortion harmful to youth? Like, what are the consequences of it?
Well, I think you mentioned the trauma of it. I think it's,
Mhm.
I just made a mistake, will be the response. I didn't mean to. It's a common occurrence. And then the consequence of that can be magnified, and the effect of it can be long lasting and much larger than the initial even infraction. So, because it hasn't been thought through, and it can really ruin reputations and lives. I was just watching some film of, I think it was, the father of a child talking to a school board because his daughter had been found to had images participating in some inappropriate behavior, and the images of that were distributed throughout the entire school district. And yet she
Oh,
was
man.
vilified. The boy in the photos was not. The school
Oh,
board did nothing. And it's just like,
oof.
I mean, it goes so far, so fast. And kudos to, in this case, this is a public case, the girl herself had actually addressed the board, which is an incredible move of bravery. But
Mhm.
why, it's a very unfortunate incident to have to deal with. So we'd like to be able to address that before it happens, of course, and empower these kids to make better decisions. I think
Right.
it's the effect of all this that really makes it unfortunate.
Mhm. The case that you just spoke of, it sounds like initially the girl was villainized. She was the
Exactly.
victim, right? So she's
Exactly.
villainized and she was really the victim of this. So, and again, her bravery to go in front of the school board to talk about it. Wow, good for her. Not an easy
Well, I
thing to
think,
do.
in historically, whenever we talk about a bullying scenario, person, the imbalance of power, the bully is counting on silence to be able to get away from
Mhm.
that. And I think
Mhm.
they took this to that next level and make sure that light is shone upon it so that the imbalance of power gets equalized. But when you have something that has shame associated with it, or something that is meant to be power, it's really hard to do that without losing your reputation. Um, when you bring something as private as nudity or sex into it, then that really ramps up the consequence or the reputation. So if somebody feels like their, I don't know, personal dignity, or whether I'm a man or a capable student involved, then that's what the silence brings.
Mhm.
I'm going to take your lunch money, or go ahead and take the ball from me, kind of thing. And then it feels like it's less of an issue. And they count on you not telling the teacher or something like that, so they can continue to do that. But all you have to do is raise that into somebody's attention, and hopefully you can count on the adults to correct that situation.
Mhm.
But when you get into things like extortion, it really, really ups the ante on that. And it almost guarantees you that they won't step forward and say, hey, this is happening to me.
Right.
I need your help,
Right.
because you have to let somebody know that you've been in a very compromising situation and you've gotten there. And that's not the first question that was asked of you. And that's not the first decision you made. It's often a very long, grooming process or slope that's gotten you there, where you said yes a number of times to things that aren't so compromising, that then make it hard to say no when it is that, serious question. And that, I think, is really what makes these things very difficult.
So, what can be done to help prevent these issues?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's much like dieting, or weight control. It's good foods and exercise is always the answer. It's always the good things. Um, limiting access to social media is always a good response. There's so much that the kids get uh, overwhelmed with in terms of messaging and
Mhm.
imagery that makes them feel like this is a goal that they should be pursuing, that they should be looking a certain way or acting a certain way, when really it's very lopsided and it's not typical or normal to be acting this way or behaving this way,
Right.
being this way. In terms of parents and their children, knowing who it is that they're talking to and interacting with in a real time, real way is the best defense against this kind of thing.
Mhm.
Understanding who it is that they have contact with. And when I say limiting access, I really mean having a good balance
Yeah,
of,
the balance,
you
of
know,
course.
some
Right,
media, social media is fine. There's a lot of fantastic stuff out
right,
there on all the platforms.
right.
We tend to get into this, it's horrible or it's only good, and it's not. It's a mix of both, and you have to be able to discern and judge, what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks. I think it's interesting that even in the gaming community itself, there is this popular expression out there called touch grass, which means like, listen, Dave, you've been online too much. You need to go touch grass.
Oh, wow.
You've lost
Okay.
context of reality.
Yeah.
Uh, there was one gentleman that I saw on TikTok, yes, I admit, who's like going to the supermarket looking for something that's only available in a game. So it's just like
Oh,
you can't
wow.
find it in reality. So mixed up. So knowing who your friends are, so that you know who they're in contact with. There are some children who have friends that they know only virtually because they are
Yeah.
across the globe and things like that. And there's
Right.
some very powerful and strong
Right.
relationships there. So not all virtual friendships are wrong and bad.
And I think that's an important point
Yeah.
to emphasize because I think a lot of times parents are like, no, no, that's just, that's not really a friendship there. But a lot of
Yeah.
times there is a strong bond there between the friends, even if someone's maybe in Australia and somebody else is in the US.
Exactly. But having the balance of some solid relationships and IRL relationships that will help them balance that and understand, wait a minute, the guy I ride my bike with in the neighborhood
Hmm.
doesn't ask this kind of thing of me. That's really a counterpoint to what's being asked of me online.
Yeah.
Um, there are instances, of an online relationship where certain demands are being made and gifts being given electronically to ask for more and more
Mm.
sensitive things, which kind of made sense in that virtual reality that would have really raised some flags if they were happening in person.
Fair point. Fair
So you could
point.
get a lot further along in an inappropriate relationship online because, literally the economy is different. And
Yeah.
if that were happening to me with a friend in real life, I would have been, wait a minute, this is creepy.
Right.
But online, it may not have felt that way. So, and I've
Good
had clients
point.
who have shared that kind of thing with me, and that's kind of how we do a check on that. So I think how do we help parents kind of monitor that? And I think those are the two big things is having some kind of balance so
Hmm.
that it's not just all online or all, you don't just deny it. And then having an understanding of what's going on there. So the communication is open so that if anything does go sideways or they feel a little uncomfortable with it, the communication is there that they can share that or not feel like they're going to feel shameful about it. That's
Hmm.
just a conversation that you can have.
Right.
Yeah.
So important there. So, what would be the role of schools in preventing cyberbullying?
Mm, that's challenging,
That's a
especially
tough one. I know. I know. I think
coming from a
that's
school, just because I think there's a
mhm.
lot that gets dumped on the schools. So there's my soapbox there.
True. True. True.
And yet there's a lot of knowledge in the schools that they could see. The schools that I had the pleasure to work in, we did notice students and we could tell when they were having a different day. So you would notice a change in personality because they would show it to you. You'd be able to check in. Sometimes that's not possible. I
Hmm.
think education, letting people know about some of these dangers is a good thing. Having resources there is a good idea. And sometimes it's possible to do that. Sometimes it's not possible to do that in a good way. So I think you have to find the best balance as you can. I really worry about putting too much on the schools that allow, the family unit, however that looks, to say, well, that's being done at the school, so I don't have to do it here. Either both or in cooperation, so that we want to make sure that the job is done well
Hmm.
and that the child has options to pick that up. It's not to be abdicated and given from one to the other. I would like to make sure the child has some person of a resource of authority and quality that they can go to be supported in this. There's just too much and it's going too fast for them to have to search for that. Really
Right.
want to make sure that they're covered.
Right. And as we talk about, the role of parents, and you mentioned like just kind of really looking at the balance to social media, I, some of my advice to parents is don't outsource your parenting to the schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a team approach. It takes a village,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think once parents are saying, no, the school's handling that and monitoring, and I think,
Mm-hmm.
no, let's tap the brakes on that.
Right.
Definitely has to be a
Right.
team approach.
But benefits from a listening, if you hear something coming home from the school,
Mm-hmm.
don't immediately go up and try to resist that, but try to figure out what's coming from that and vice versa. My kids have been fortunate, the teachers ask for, let us know if something's up, if he's having a bad day or, if it's been an unusual sleep schedule. If he's coming in grumpy, just give us a heads up. Therefore, they don't jump on him if he's not responding to things as well as he usually is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get some reports home. It's she's been more forgetful than usual or something like that. See things seem off, and then we don't immediately go into, well, you're missing things, or she's awesome and she never forgets anything. It's like, oh, let's ask about that and see what's going on. Because maybe there's been some social drama, or the
Right.
rest isn't as good as it used to be, or something like that. If it's a unique or a cute thing, then we'll bump over that and then we'll move on. But if this has been going on for a couple of weeks, then we have something bigger going on. Something might be percolating on the back burner there that we might want to keep an eye on. So I have them for half the day, and there's a lot going on, so you might want to compare notes in these kind of situations.
Yes. Definitely comparing notes. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Any other takeaways you'd like to share?
I think it can be really hard with how fast things move.
Yeah, especially technology. Yeah.
As soon as you figure out one platform, there's a new one taking its place. And, the lingo alone is challenging. That's one of the reasons why I like having the clientele that I have. I feel like at least I can keep pace with it. Yeah. Right. But the kids are earnest about it. I think they really, they're trying to navigate their world, but they're still humans that just want to do well, right, and to do the best that they can. They're hugely sensitive and caring. Mm-hmm. They want to do well for themselves, their friends, and the world around them. Every generation thinks the next generation just, is weird and ignoring all these things, but they really aren't. They're really just trying to do well and get through this world. So I think with that attitude, if we can listen more and respond to what they're telling us, I think they'll be all right.
Yes. Great way to live our lives, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. We're all on our own journeys. Gosh, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on this topic. This very important topic. Yeah. I think making parents aware of what they can do to be helpful with this is so key. So thank you again.
Happy to help. Hopefully I'll get a couple of kids to this year a little bit easier.
Yes. I would also like to thank the team behind the podcast, Jason Clayton, Juliana Whitten, and Chris Kelman. With a special thanks to Jason Clayton, who edits our episodes. Take care, everyone.